Check 1 2. It is Friday, November 4th, 2022, and I'm not trading today. I actually took a couple days away from the market, which is ironic because I'm here recording this video, which I wasn't even going to record, but I feel like it's important for my own review and to look back later at this and be able to reflect on what happened here. This is a video from 2 days ago on Wednesday, the 2nd of November. There was a Fed meeting, and I am made a couple trades before that in the morning, but here we are at 2 p.m. The interest rate hike is about to be released, and pretty much flat on the day so far. And this is a great example of what burnout and lack of sleep will do to you. I ended up going on tilt in this video and overtrading and dug a small hole. Didn't hit my daily loss limit, but I ended up stop trading. Just took some bad trades, took some scalps, and just got sucked into it. And whenever I start trading like this, I try to have a circuit breaker that stops me. That did come up for me, and I was able to see what I was doing and stop myself before it got too late, before I hit my daily drawdown limit. But nevertheless, these are classic signs of burnout for me. When I start trading poorly and my performance starts going down, usually it's tied to some kind of burnout, whether it's just burning the candle at both ends, work and kids and trading, and that's exactly what happened here. I was starting to lose consistency, having a tougher time trading the markets, sleep training my little one, who is waking up every 2 hours in the middle of the night, and basically running on no sleep, working all day, and eventually you run out of energy and you start making really poor trading decisions. And so what I ended up doing after this day is I stopped trading after the Fed, and I haven't traded yesterday, and I'm not going to trade today, and I might even take a couple days off next week. But regardless, I just wanted to go through what happened. So the numbers came out, and I made a couple scalps in Amazon. Amazon was really thick, so I was scalping it for basically pennies, trying to catch a move, caught a couple moves, and then just started over trading. Just started watching the tape way too closely and just started over trading and missing the big picture. And the most painful part was the trade that I put on right there. This trade, I took a short here because I saw a lot of weakness, and you can see I overtraded. I mean, this is more than like a week's worth of trades that I usually do, just in a span of a few minutes here on Amazon. So definitely overtrading. Took a couple of small paper cuts here and there, trying different things. But here I was pretty convinced that the whole market was a short, and so I was going to use Amazon as a vehicle. And I got short right here, which is pretty aggressive, and I probably could have gotten better prices. That's aided with hindsight. But I got short, and I ended up puking my short literally right here, 1 penny from the high of the entire move. And then within a few minutes, we will be down below here, down below 93, 92, 91, somewhere down here in just a few minutes. So I had the right idea, but my execution was really off. And again, this is a sign of burnout, and I typically don't trade like this. And whenever I do, it's always the same reason. It's because I have been just overworked, overstressed out, not sleeping enough, just too much at work, too much at home, too much trading, and something has to give. And my discipline and plan and everything just goes out the door. Patience, everything. You just can't perform when you're running on no sleep multiple weeks at a time. And that's exactly what happened here. But this trade, I mean, I had the right idea, and I ended up puking it right here at the top of this move. And just look at what happens right after this. Oh, it looks like I tried even another one right there. And then, yeah, I gave up, and then the whole thing just absolutely puked after that and continued to go lower. But I think one of the most interesting things about this, besides the fact that this entry was too aggressive and I probably could have fought for better prices here and done a lot of things different here and not overtraded here, that would have led to a much more successful day. I think one of the more interesting things is actually the tape right here. And I'd like to go back and review that for the sake uh, of this video. Let me find the exact spot where that happens. It's right about here. And watch the tape on Amazon and even on NVIDIA. Watch what happens here. This is 2:36, so the numbers have been out for 36 minutes, but Powell started talking at 2:30, so just a couple minutes prior. And he said something that really got the market spooked. So I'm just going to hit play and watch what the tape does here. All of a sudden we start seeing some selling. I remember that comes in. They're hitting the bids there, hitting the bids hard. And you see all this? That's them hitting the bids really, really hard. And we're just puking. We're not coming back at all. And this is a very aggressive sign of desperate sellers. And all of a sudden we have this. I want to pause it right here. We have this. Now, on my level 2, the meaning of this is that these highlighted executions on the tape here on the time and sales, this means that these happened above the best offer at the time. So what does that mean? That means that sellers were selling and trades were executing above the best offer at the time. Why would something like that happen? Well, something like that would happen if there was a very high urgency to get out of a position of some sort. And that's exactly what happened. It might have been on a different exchange than the primary exchange, and that's why they were, or the primary exchanges that were trading, and this might be why we're seeing all these be so far outside of the market. But nevertheless, and you see it on multiple symbols, multiple major market players, and what you see is basically someone holding the offer and selling as much as possible, and heavy volume. And just watch what happens. I mean, we know what happens. It goes down heavy. But this is very unusual tape. And so, actually, let me just rewind it a little bit so that we can watch the whole thing in real time. So we came up there, and then we came down, and we saw all that heavy red, that heavy bid hitting, and this red highlight, and then all of a sudden, boom, we have all this highlighted green above the market, these trades happening, and then what happens immediately after that? We keep going down, and just a sea of red, and those red highlights are happening below the market, and we're just keep going down, and the offer steps down, and the bids keep getting smacked, and the offer steps down, and the bids keep getting smacked. And clearly there's something happening. Now this is the reaction, the return reaction here, a quick bounce, but does it bounce significantly? No, and it stalls out. You can see the offer here stalls out in the 60s. And let's watch the tape. What happens immediately after that? Immediately comes back down to the 40s, and oops, I accidentally hit the, and all of a sudden we have another slew of that highlight, and then the bids get hit again, hit again, hit again, tons of bids getting hit. And what's the offer doing and the bid doing? Well, they're not going up. They're staying here, and they're about to tank. And more executions outside, and now we're in the 20s, and it's happening down even lower. And then the bids get hit again, and then they're stepping down, and then the bids get hit again, and then they're stepping down. And then the offers are holding, and all these and now we're below the hole. And it keeps going and going and going. This is very unusual tape. And at this point, I can hear myself chuckling in the background out of frustration. I just covered up here 1 penny from the high of this move, and this was my target down here. We ended up going several points lower than this, but this was the move I was looking to capture, and I got ticked out by 1 penny. And my level of frustration over this was so high. But anyways, let's continue to watch the tape. We keep having that offer hold and then move lower. and all that selling, and then there's the bids getting hit. Again, the red highlights means it's below the best bid. Those executions are happening below the best bid, and then the offer is holding again, and they continue to set, and we cannot get up at all. Not even 10 cents can we get up. And as soon as we do get up about 10 cents, it immediately slams back down, and more selling, more selling, more selling, more selling. Here's another reaction pop, but how high does it get? It doesn't get high at all, and then the selling comes back in again. Look at that. Just so much volume, pace of tape, and selling, and such a weak looking tape. And so that's what that part looked like. And then I want to fast forward to, there was another large dump. That was the big reaction right there. And it pops up. And let's see what happens up here while we're looking at the tape. Let's see what kind of selling. So it looks like that down move is over, right? And then it starts popping back up, and it looks like this is the only reason I have VWAP here, is to see how things pop during extreme events. And then we get to the 60s and a bunch of selling, and then boom, 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 they're hitting the bids really hard, really hard. And that happened on the reaction, on the bounce after this big down move. This is a very high probability trade to take. We have a big, strong down move on very high volume. We have an up move reaction into VWAP, which I don't make a lot of, don't put a lot of weight into, but we get a reaction move. It's also into these swing lows here, and then all of a sudden the tape confirms the weakness with all of that selling. Let's go back and look at all that selling again. Let's take a look as it comes up into the 50s, 60s. Let's see what happens. There's the 40s, 50s, 50s, bunch of selling there, and pace of tape quickens, and then boom, 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 boom. You see all that? And they just hit the bids hard right there. That is a weak tape. That is not what a strong tape looks like. That is a very weak tape, and that is a great spot to re-enter to the short side, with this area being the stop just above this swing high area. Very well-defined risk and great entry spot for a continuation to the short side. And this thing just collapses from here. Oh no, it doesn't. It goes up a little bit higher. So it would have stopped out, and then it goes. I don't remember exactly how that happened, but you can see it went even higher. It looks like it stopped out all those folks, and then it went back. Let's go take a look at what that tape looked like right there, just out of curiosity. Now she's up in the 80s, 90s. It's going to be a similar type of move. They got up to the 20s, and then the bids just got hit. You get all the selling right here, back up to the 20s. Was a lot of selling up in the 20s. Bids getting hit, bids getting hit, bids dropping away, just straight down. So it's pretty much the same exact thing here, and then that's another spot to try again with very well-defined risk reward. So after that, yeah, there was quite a heavy drop. Let's look at the tape right here. Here at the 95s, back into the 20s. They're hitting the bids, just heavy hitting bids. Boom, even more. Selling on the offer in the 90s, so they're holding the offer lower, hitting the bids in the 80s, 80s bids dropping down to the 70s, hitting the 70s bids dropping down to the 60s, they're hitting the 60s bids. The offer is now holding lower in the 80s and the 70s. They're coming back, they're hitting the 70s again. Now they're hitting the 60s, they get down to the 50s. Now we have selling, holding the offer in the 60s and in the 70s. You can see they're just stepping down, hitting the bids, stepping down, holding the offer, stepping down, hitting the bids, holding the offer, stepping down. Now we're down in the 40s, they're still hitting the bids, and just rinse and repeat on this. So what is the we're 15 minutes into this recording. What is the point of all this? The point of all this is you really have to be aware of yourself and um, your the things that are affecting your performance. And I wasn't giving it enough credit here, and wasn't giving it enough respect. And I was very tired, and still am. You could probably hear it in my voice. Future self watching this. And every time you start to struggle with performance, for me, it's because I'm not sleeping well. And right now, while I'm sleep training the kids, not a good time to be pressing, since I'm getting very little sleep and it's affecting my trading, it's affecting work, it's affecting home. So, uh, good call on stopping where I did. Wish I could have stopped a little bit earlier. Um, but good job stopping where I did and recognizing what was going wrong and taking the time off both from trading, and actually took a couple days off of work too because I'm just burned out and need some rest. So I thought this was important to share with my future self on what to identify when things are not working. So hopefully after a couple days of rest and relaxation away from the markets, away from work, some quality time with the kiddos, I can jump back in and start getting consistent again. But yeah, this is real. This is life. So hope this helps my future self and anyone else out there who's struggling and feeling maybe some of the same symptoms that I was. Don't ignore your body.